Sharon, the floor is yours.
Sounds great. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna share my screen so everyone can see this. Can everyone see this?
Yes, we can.
All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. Really great to meet you all. And also, thank you so much for being so flexible with your schedules. Really appreciate it. My name's Sharon. I'm currently a content designer at Cisco. I am in the sunny Bay Area in the US. I live with my cat and also my partner here. But I was actually grew up in China in the city of Hangzhou. And also, like many of you guys here, I have a very diverse culture background. I also worked in localization before. I actually started my career as a localization specialist. Even though I mostly work in English right now, I'm always advocating for localization-friendly content design. And here's a few things that I do at work. First off, I write product copy, anything that's in the UI, and I also run user tests and do content research. Recently, I've been doing a lot of the different AI projects at Cisco, working like on things like Cisco AI and also Cisco.com chatbot. And on top of that, I also help build out content style guide website content design
with
system.
control, what entries the file third, less compromise with game plans. When you're as capable and as variable as we are,
Right. Um, and which is what I'll be talking about today. So, as a content designer, we spend so much time answering the same style guide questions or dealing with those micro copy requests. It leaves us no time for those meaningful, high-level strategy work that we want to spend more time on. AI tools can help us become more system-focused and reduce content inconsistencies, allowing us and our team to work more efficiently. The chatbot I'm building for my team is an AI tool that can surface the right guidelines at the right time for the right audience. This chatbot mainly has 3 different use cases. Well, also there's another request and take feature that I didn't show. So the first, it kind of serves as a centralized place for all your guidelines, especially useful if your company also have multiple guidelines or if you're writing for different products and personas. And from my personal experience, it's not uncommon to find that people simply don't read or use our guidelines. Many people, especially like engineers, often end up writing content themselves without referring or asking us before they submit it to development. And sometimes people who are not aware of our style guide will also use guidelines that created for some other products, which can lead to a lot of inconsistencies. Imagine you have a chatbot that can actually house all the guidelines. The only question you need to ask is like what I did earlier is which product are you writing for? And then they can interact with the chatbot using natural language. So no more control F and keywords. The chatbot will match the right guidelines for them and doesn't have to be just the content style guide. You can also add more guidelines like design guidelines, localization guidelines in most of your cases. And all the guidelines together make up the chatbot's knowledge base. There are different ways to add these guidelines depending on which tools you use to build the chatbot. I use VoiceFlow. I recommend to kind of like hard code the guidelines into the chatbot as this will give the user the same consistent responses every time. And alternatively, you can also simply just add PDFs, Word docs of your guidelines, or even like links to your website. And that way you don't have to worry about updating the chatbot, the knowledge base. It will just kind of like automatically scrape the data for you from the website. I can show you how I do that just in a little bit. And the second use case is actually to help people review their copy and check if it aligns with the guidelines. But this chatbot would not actually create any new copy. It will only try to find the most similar copy examples in the repository, as well as the most relevant guidelines and rationales you put into the chatbot. And the third use case is about consolidating all the request intake channels into an automated workflow. And it doesn't matter if your team's using like an intake form, help channel, or office hours. This chatbot can collect feedback and also requests from your potential users, like designers in our case. And this consolidation will help us to plan our time more strategically by reducing the number of ad hoc requests, allowing us to focus on those high priority and also strategic projects. But this chatbot isn't meant to replace any of us, at least not yet. Instead, it's actually designed to empower us and also empower anyone who create content, including those designers, engineers, tech writers, translators, and content designers. It's all about offering skill upgrades, not to do the work for us or for them. The goal is to teach people how to write good UX copy. But why do we have to use AI, especially generative AI? I don't know how many of you have used or are familiar with those generative AI tools like ChatGPT, Cloud, or Perplexity, or what's the most popular AI chatbot in China right now? Is it called Kimi? I don't know. I've seen it on Xiaohongshu, but I'm not really sure. So the traditional chatbots focus more on the output, but with generative AI, we have more possibilities and also more randomness. Currently, generative AI works by predicting the next best token or words based on the giving input, the questions that you ask, and also the internet knowledge most LLMs were trained on. LLM stands for large language models, by the way. And that said, generative AI is not very good at writing consistent and short, like microcopy or product copy, and it can get too creative and also it can hallucinate. However, AI excels in certain areas. It can serve many, is there, sorry.
Go
It can
ahead,
serve
sorry.
many people at the same time, providing convenience and time saving. And it is also able to manage and review content at scale. It's also very good at finding patterns to look for similar content patterns between your input message and what's in the content repository that we put into the chatbot. And it will only provide the most similar one or two copy for you. And you're the one who decides if you wanted to edit it or use it based on the context. I don't know if that makes sense. So if you're also interested in building a chatbot like this, there are a few things to look out for. First, don't rely solely on the chatbot. Always involve human like us in the loop to ensure accuracy. Only use the chatbot as a starting point and make edits when it makes sense. And second, don't try to let LLMs do absolutely everything, but focus on the areas that really makes a difference. Most importantly, find out what people really need. A great way to get insights from people who might need this is to host a workshop. And in these workshops, you can ask questions like what types of content they find most difficult to write, and also ask for examples. And by co-creating this chatbot and also guidelines with their design partners, you will learn more about what guidelines are missing and also how to iterate the chatbot to make it work for a wider audience. All right, and lastly, I'd like to share two books that I found incredibly helpful when I learned how to create these chatbots and AI systems. The first one is called Voice Bot and Chatbot Design. And the second one is Prompt Engineering for LLMs. I also included everything in this spreadsheet, and we'll be sharing that later to everyone. So that's all I want to share today. This is my QR codes to my LinkedIn and WeChat. So yeah.
Thanks a lot, Sharon. Thanks for sharing. All right. Okay. I think we're going to have a lot of questions.
Great.
We do have a lot of questions. Okay, so which one get started with? Let's start with this one from Anna. Did you build it with VoiceFlow? How does it work? Can someone with no prior experience use it to create chatbot?
Yeah, of course. That's a great question. So I can definitely show you how I built this on VoiceFlow. So unfortunately, I can't really show like the chatbot project because like this is what I built for work, so I can't really show you the code. But I can definitely show you another personal project I did um, for the Content and AI podcast. So basically, for those of you who's not familiar with VoiceFlow or any AI building tools, VoiceFlow is they claim themselves to be like a low or no code AI building tool. So technically, you don't need to know how to code to be able to build this chatbot. And this is pretty straightforward. I can just show you like how I created everything from start. So for this chatbot, it's really simple. The logic, it's a chatbot um, powered by Larry Swanson's Content AI podcast. Basically, I put the link to the podcast as a knowledge base in here. So, okay. So the first thing you need to do is to add the knowledge base to this chatbot. And I only added those links, the URLs. And as you can see, this is on us, and I can show you guys. So in this link, it's just the link to the podcast. And also this one has Anna's bios and also the transcripts, interview transcripts. So everything here, oh, except for those three PDF that I uploaded, these are all from two books and also something that I asked Cloud to help me generate based on the transcripts. So I basically tell Cloud to help me summarize like 20 best practices from this podcast, and also examples and rationales, and then put all of them into the chatbot as the knowledge base. And now we can start building the chatbot. Let me see. So if you go to this start, and then the flow is really simple. The first question is ask me something about the podcast, conversational design, and AI, for example. These are the questions that you can ask. And then the second thing is really to use this response AI, the knowledge base, to you write a prompt, basically instructions on how to answer the question based on the knowledge base that you added to it. And that's it. That's everything to this chatbot, and this is how it looks like. So you can ask, you don't have to ask any of the questions here. You can also ask who is Sharon, because I was also in the podcast. And then it's going to, oh, sorry, I think I should probably ask who is Sharon, not the, and then it's going to tell you Sharon Ni is a content designer at Cisco who works on conversational AI products like chatbots and Cisco AI Assistant. And this is pretty accurate because I'm building on top of like a knowledge base, which kind of like a RAG system. I don't know if you guys are familiar with RAG, which is I think it's I forgot what RAG stands for. Retrieval augmented generation, I think. So it doesn't really hallucinate. It will only try to find the information from the knowledge base that you injected to this chatbot. But you can also, so another feature of VoiceFlow is that you can also use the AI model, which will allow you to like select from all these large language model that you see on the market, like the GPT-4o or Cloud. And then you'll be able to just like ask it to produce responses based on the prompts that you provide, like the system prompt and also the prompt here. But the reason why I'm not using that is because I'm creating this chatbot that's really contextual and also focused on the podcast. So yeah, this is how I build a chatbot. You can literally build this like in 5 minutes. Yeah, I hope that's helpful.
It is. That looks very interesting. Sanya say right in the chat that it's such an amazing tool. I would love to explore this more. And she thank
Yeah.
you for sharing. I think she's right.
Yeah.
It's a very, very interesting tool.
Yeah, yeah. I would say one thing that I do want to mention is that if you also wanted to create something with knowledge base, it's better if you like format the documentation or whatever you upload it to the chatbot. Um, the more structured content, the better the output. So
Okay, very well. Yes, we have questions about RAG.
okay.
If
I'm not an expert here,
you're
but
not an
I'll
expert.
answer.
Okay.
Um,
It stands for, you said,
with
retrieval augmented generation. Yes.
yes, yes,
All
yes.
right. Okay. All right. Very clear. I do have another questions from Anna, which I'm gonna take because I think it fits quite well with what you just said. Any
Yeah.
tips on collaborating with larger teams on chatbot, making sure that it's friendly and easy enough for non-writers?
Right. So are you talking about like building chatbots or like writing AI?
Mm,
Because yeah. These can be really different because like the chatbot I'm working on right now, like the style guide chatbot, I haven't really tested with like a large team right now. So my idea when first started was mainly because we got a lot of repetitive and same requests in our help channel, and I just wanted to build something for designers so that they don't have to like come to us and ask the same questions all the time. Especially there's a lot of questions about like capitalization or or whether it's okay to use this word or that word. And so I haven't thought about like other audience to be honest. It wasn't like until I brought this up to my manager and she was like, "Oh, that's a great idea. And why don't we share with a larger group with the engineers because we also heard a lot from our engineers saying that, oh, I don't know how to write UX copy and or I want to write UX copy, but I don't know how. So that's why I started to kind of like expand this chatbot and start adding more guidelines to it so that not just the designers, but also engineers who are not familiar with like the terminologies or like what we call those components, different elements, will be able to ask the questions in natural language. And a way to do that is by adding a lot of utterances to different, I would say, intents. So, for example, if you're asking questions about uh, CTA, they don't have to like type in the word CTA. They can say like button or call to action or anything that will link them, that will take them all to the same guidelines, to the same response. So that's a way to do that. And I think in the future, I will start doing some user testing around whether or not different user groups find this chatbot useful or whether or not the guidelines make sense to them so that we can also keep adding more guidelines to probably like the engineers who think that UX writing can be a little difficult for them. Right now, everything is still like more design focused, design driven. We haven't made a lot of updates for for the other groups, but yeah, I hope that
Okay,
answers
so
the question.
the tool is mostly used by the
Designer
UX
right now,
writing
right
team.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, in my use case. So
Okay.
yeah, but we do realize that we probably need to build something for the engineers too, because like oftentimes they're the one who create the copy. And I don't know if this is also like really common in those Chinese companies, but like basically in the US, I think everyone can create content as long as you know how to write in English. So
Yes. Okay. So roughly to no need for a precise number. Perhaps you're not allowed to tell us, but roughly to how many people is currently using the chatbot?
So right now this is a little tricky. So not a lot of people are actually using the chatbot because we're still like developing it.
Mm,
So how it works in my company is a little like complicated. Like, we have to go through a very strict like a legal assessment process in order to like use an AI tool like this, because we just wanted to make sure that everything that you put into this chatbot there's no copyright issue, basically. Yeah, so right now we're just like working with the legal team to see if it's okay for us to like publish the AI part of the chatbot, but we're still like trying to like build the rule-based part, which is the guideline part of the chatbot, and we're looking to kind of like show it to more users in the next few months. So this is still a work in progress, basically. Yeah.
That's a great answer, and it allows me to jump to the next question, which is from Ashley. How many people are in the chatbot design process? Is it just you or a team? And if it's a team, how many people roughly are working on it? I guess it's about the same
Yeah,
answer.
so
Yeah.
yeah, I would say because the reason why I chose VoiceFlow was because VoiceFlow is the only Cisco approved AI building tools that we're allowed to use at our company. So I actually work with the VoiceFlow team. They help me to build the code, uh, like the base model, and then I basically work on all of the other stuff. So it's a team of one, but I also work with the voice flow team back and forth to help me iterate the chatbot. And also I have another senior content designer working on this project with me. She is the one who created most of the guidelines on our SharePoint site. And also we kind of like did some user testing together with their designers on like what guidelines that they need. So yeah, basically this is how this chatbot is working right now, but I hope that there's going to be more people joining me and this project together. Yeah.
Okay. Great answer. And it's again, I mean, we have on the topic of how building the chatbot. I've got that question from Pedro. How do you incorporate user feedback into the chatbot, and by extension into the process of building the chatbot? I assume yes.
Yeah, so I think like I just said, we don't really have a lot of user feedback right now. I only like showed it to a very smaller small number of users, people who I work most closely with. So we will definitely like take that into consideration once we have more feedback from our users. But I think the reason why we built this chatbot was also because like we sort of know like what the users like what their questions are and also like where they feel most difficult in terms of like how to write the content because we had many workshop with them and we like I mentioned earlier we try to collect some general feedback from our users on our content guidelines and also like the things that they found most difficult to write as well as those examples so we kind of like not just as a feedback but we kind of like use all those examples that we collected during those workshops. We also like put them in this chatbot as good copy examples and bad copy examples so that these are all going to be part of the responses they're going to see. And we also created rationales to support those response. I don't know if that makes sense. So it's important to show people not just the guidelines, but also the rationales behind the guidelines and also the rationale behind the good copy and bad copy. So yeah, I
Okay.
hope that works.
Okay. It does. It's that's great. We have a question from Aid Ace. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Uh, that person asked, does or slash can the knowledge base be auto updated, or does
The
it auto update? Perhaps this question makes more sense to
yeah,
you than it does to me. Perhaps.
so yeah, of course. If this is like a URL, you can definitely like update it. So I think it's gonna like refresh or like it's gonna scrape the data from your website in like every 1 or 2 days, or like you can set it to like a month or something. But I basically hard coded everything into this chatbot, so I have to update it manually. I have to basically enter everything that I want the chatbot to respond. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, but I feel like the only reason I did that was because I don't want the chatbot to have different responses every time. I want it to keep it consistent, and also I want to review the response myself, have more control.
Okay, so you have some sort of session where you would check what data you would feed to the chatbot,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
do that regularly.
Yeah. So because we're the one who created the guidelines, so I always make sure that after we create the guidelines, after we put the guidelines on our SharePoint site, I also create another version of the guidelines, which is shorter than the one that we put on the SharePoint site, and also is more conversational. So it doesn't, look like a guideline, and more it looks like a tips, like a writing tips. Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. We have another questions from Lucas. Perhaps you already answered that. Let's see. Lucas is asking, is this built with open source models or your proprietary model? So I assume something that your company owns. So you mentioned that VoiceFlow is approved by
Right.
your company.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is how it works. We I use this voice flow because this is the only approved AI building tool, and also because this one, the voice flow has our Cisco approved version of GPT, which means that you can use uh,
Mm.
a a customized GPT, like our company version of GPT on VoiceFlow, and that's why I chose to use it. Otherwise, I won't be able to use any of the large language models in this chatbot, in this VoiceFlow platform, basically. So,
All right. Okay. Another question, more about the how to say the back end of the chatbot. A question from Ashley: do you get data about how often the chatbot is used and what types of questions is being asked to the chatbot?
um, yeah, so basically right now all the intents are built based on our existing guidelines. So I haven't been trying to like add new questions that's coming from like the help channel or somewhere else. It's basically based on our guidelines, our style guide on our SharePoint site. So if they ask some questions that's not there, it's gonna go into like a request process where they can submit a request and for us to add new guidelines, or if they wanted to like talk to us about this. But yeah, we haven't started, just like doing some of these like customization or like adding some like more, I don't know, personal or contextual questions to this chatbot just because we feel like we wanted to like be more focused on what's already have on our SharePoint site, on our like what like our existing style guides. And because right now we're trying to like expand, we're trying to add more guidelines outside of my own org, I guess. So we're currently like working with different teams to see what guidelines that we should be putting into this chatbot and where we should be putting this chatbot. Yeah.
Wow, super interesting. Um, let me ask the question from Vladimir. How do you balance the people asking the bot on their own versus keeping content designers in the loop? So what I assume is meaning here is by having this chatbot available, you
Mhm.
have let's assume the chatbot is widespread across the organization, and then you would
Right.
have more and more people asking questions more to the chatbot than the content designers. Is there not a risk of putting the content designers, on the side, not having that seat at the table that we want to have? Vlad, feel free to correct me if I didn't get your question right, but I believe that's what he meant.
Yeah, I
Right.
understand that you don't give it to everyone else to use right now, but what is your final goal? Because we also experiment with chatbots, and this is
Mhm.
something we're thinking about every single minute of our life.
Yeah. Well, to be fully transparent, I kind of wish the chatbot can actually do some work for me just because we feel like I don't really have the time to to answer all the questions in our help channel. And I don't think it's really gonna replace us anytime soon. And yet, for several reasons. First, this is not for writing the copy. This is only to make copy suggestions to show you the most similar copy that's already in our product. So if you have any like requests on new content or new copy for new feature, you still have to come to us. And also because, well, I don't want to say that, but like currently, if you wanted to like train a chatbot or build a chatbot like this, that works similar to a content designer, it's actually more expensive to train a model than to hire someone. So I don't think any company right now would actually use like a chatbot to replace a person, basically. So if you do want to like use a chatbot to write the content for you, like if you do want to build a model or like a small language model using all the data from your copy to train the model using the copy that you have in our product. I think that's possible, but still it's going to cost you a lot of money, and most companies won't do that.
Yeah,
Because
sorry. Can I
yeah,
rephrase it a little bit? It's
yeah.
not that I am concerned that the company will replace us. I'm coming from localization background, and I've been
Oh,
there with machine translation. The
uh-huh.
concern is, so you have this bot,
Yeah.
and that can provide some suggestions on copy. You also
Yep.
have people who need this copy, and there are more people than you can handle. So at some point, the idea is to send people over to this bot to ask him questions. Uh, but again, we all know how LLMs hallucinate one way or another. These LLM models being updated every single day, and this voice flow behind it also has those models. So my concern would be, how can I keep myself in loop as a content designer to see when the model would start to hallucinate severely and people would just rely on it, and you
Mhm.
might not be aware of that risk. So I understand that you're not doing this right now, but if you have any ideas for the future when you want to deploy this bot for a more widespread use.
Yeah, that's a good question. So about the hallucination part, I don't really actually have an answer for that because I know that AI will hallucinate, and it definitely will, no matter if you're using, even like if you're using RAG, it's still gonna hallucinate anyway. So the best way to do it is to always include like a source link, or to do something similar to what I'm doing right now, is to like only provide similar copy from your content repository, not to use chatbot to create new content. And I think that will definitely help to reduce the hallucination. But if I know there are some people who like to use like ChatGPT or any approved tools to create content. I don't really know like how to kind of like put any guardrails on that, but like I feel like a good way to do it is also to like tell people what you can do, like show you value, and I think they will learn how you work differently from those chatbots, and also appreciate um, your thinking process behind all your content design decisions, and how you and your rationales basically. So you want it to like show people that you're more than just a writer, and there's a lot of thinking process behind every copy that you create. Um, I think that's my answer for now, but I don't think that answers your question. Yeah, it's gonna be a really, it's gonna be a process, and I think we're all trying to prove our value at this point. And yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Vlad and Sharon, I would love to see you more chat about this, because I know that Vladimir is very interested in that and is
Oh,
currently
great.
working on this. So I'm pretty sure you two would have amazing conversation that we could all learn a lot from that. So, but
Absolutely.
feel free to chat. Honestly, that's what the meetup is for. Have some people, meeting, exchanging ideas, and helping each other. I think so. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. We do have two more questions, I believe, on my list. A question from Pedro, which is yes, if you could highlight some key skills you need to master to work with chatbots, what would
Mhm.
they be? Also, do you see some similarities compared to designing content for apps and websites? That's two questions into one. The first one would be, let me repeat, if you could highlight some key skills you need to master to work with chatbots, what would they be?
Um, well, can I kind of like ask a clarify question? Or by like working with chatbot, are you talking about writing the chatbot or just like using chatbot as a tool um to help you write stuff or find stuff?
Yeah, my question was pretty much how do you design the questions? Like the answers, yeah, to like fit more like broad set of questions that people might ask.
So that's like okay, so that's a good question because right now I'm working on other like AI assistant or you can also call them chatbots. So basically what I did, like how I find out how people ask different questions was well, we actually don't really have a lot of resources to like interview user or test user with those, questions. So what I did was that I will ask the researchers to provide me with those past interview recordings, and I would actually put the transcripts of those recordings to the chatbot, not chatbot, to ChatGPT, and ask it to help me find content patterns, especially towards those questions that they asked. So I will ask ChatGPT to help me summarize a list of questions that the user asked. And that's how I kind of like knows what kind of questions that they would ask to different chatbots. So I'm working with a lot of chatbots right now. So yeah. But for this content style guide chatbot, I haven't been able to do that just because yeah, we don't have enough interview transcripts. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
And the
I think
second,
there's a part two. Yeah, sorry. There's another
yes,
question. Yeah.
absolutely, you're right. Part two of his question was, do you see some similarities um, compared to designing content for app and website? So working on the chatbot, designing a chatbot, I assume, and
Uh-huh.
compared to designing content for apps and websites.
Yeah, I think there's some similarities and also a lot of differences. I think first of all, if you're working on to like build an AI assistant, um, I wouldn't say that you have to like it's a whole new world, but basically, I think, especially when I'm building those like AI assistant, I wanted to make sure that all the content are going to be more conversational and concise than the product content, just because most chatbots are living on like a chat, kind of like a interface. So it's kind of like it's gonna be smaller than most of the product interface. So I always make sure that I use this like mobile content first approach to write my content, even it's on like a desktop. And also I feel like it's really tricky to kind of like write to kind of like just evaluate your content based on how conversation the content are. Because like I feel like the word conversational can have so many different meanings, and some people interpret conversational as colloquial, and some people feel like conversational means that you have to add emojis, jargons, and not jargons, emojis and slangs and stuff like that. But I feel like to me, conversational also means that you're using the most accessible language, the language that people use in their day-to-days, and not using those like very technical, words in those conversations, and that can be really tricky, especially if you're working on a product like what I'm working on. I'm working on like a security product. There's a lot of jargons, there's a lot of technical words. So how to translate those words into plain everyday conversational language is always a challenge. Yeah, and also I would say if you're also working in those AI chatbots, there is something that you need to do is prompt engineering, which is a very new area for me as well. How to write prompts for your AI assistant, um, how to kind of like fine tune it, and using all the feedback and data that you collected from the user feedback to adjust your prompts. And also those responses are very important. And these are, I feel like prompt engineering are something that most people wouldn't expect content designers to be able to do, but I think it's super relevant and also helpful if you have that skill. And especially I think nowadays there's more companies are like hiring conversation designers with that skill set. Um, and I think that could be a really great way to like pivot if you wanted to like do something that's more AI related. Yeah.
True, yeah. Prompt engineering, definitely something that probably extend our discipline, content design. I believe everyone would be interested to have some skills in this.
Yeah.
All right. We have one last question, but I believe you already answered it, Sharon. A question from Ashley. For those of us who have no experience writing for chatbot, what resources do you recommend for getting started? So you mentioned 2 books already.
Yeah.
Anything else that comes to your mind?
So I can also share this list of, let me just share my screen again and so that you can see.
Sure.
Where's that content conversation, I think. Okay, so all right, so I will be sharing this list of resources later on, but basically what I will be looking first are these like keywords. So if you're not sure like what AI or conversation design or chatbot design that you're interested in, you can just like literally Google those keywords to see like what are some of the things that you might want to look into. And then I also pulled together like some use cases, some like case studies. These are the different chatbots that I personally really like. And also here are some readings that you can read more about, like about RAG or AI hallucination. And also here are some like videos. For example, like Microsoft designing for Copilot and OpenAI Dev Day. This is a really good one. And also like opportunities in AI, things like that. And here's a few books that I highly recommend. I would say I really like this one, The Code Intelligence. If you wanted to start off, I would recommend to read this one. This will tell you everything about AI, the history, different use cases, the limitations, and stuff like that. And also 2 newsletters. Oh, I think I forgot to mention this, but I think information architecture is really important for AI, and I haven't really seen a lot of people brought that up in many conversations, but basically right now, most AI chatbots are very not readable, I think, especially like if you're looking at like ChatGPT, you're basically seeing like a wall of text. So I think information architecture is something that we definitely should pay more attention to. And when you're creating like AI experiences, and if you do have the time and resources, do some user testings to see what user prefer to read, and also the length of the text you should be putting in those AI chatbots. And here are a few guidelines that I collected. There's one from Salesforce and also from Google. And yeah, hope that answers your question.
It does. I mean, that's Wonderful. So many resources.
Yeah.
Just to go back to information architecture,
Yeah.
you mentioned it's also a crucial skill that is not often, talked about when it comes to working with AI and developing
Mhm.
chatbot. You mean by that mention a wall of text for ChatGPT? Are you mentioning that it's necessary to have some knowledge of information architecture to develop the interface or the way the answers are provided, or?
Yeah, definitely. So I think there's two different ways to like look at this question. So if you're working with like a Gen AI tools like ChatGPT, or if you're trying to use like the GPT API to create some new AI assistant, I think if you wanted to change some of the information architecture of the responses, I think the only way to do it is through prompt engineering. So you have to write the prompt to tell the system how to do it. But there's another way if you're like working with those more scripted workflows and chatbot. I think there's different ways to do it through not just text. You can also like put different like components, illustrations, and different UI elements basically to kind of like adjust the information hierarchy. I think there are more and more AI products that I've seen are trying to add more than just text, like buttons or follow-up questions and links to those sources, and also videos, visualizations and stuff like that. These are all gonna like impact on like how people read. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. You, you spoke a lot. You answered a lot of questions. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope that
Um,
was helpful.
so interesting. So honestly, a very interesting sharing today.